On a bitterly cold Christmas Eve, a fierce snowstorm raged outside, blanketing the town in a thick layer of white. Inside the old stone church, Pastor John stood alone, a hint of sadness in his eyes. The pews were empty, the candles unlit. He had spent weeks preparing for the Christmas Eve service, a time of joy and celebration. But the blizzard had other plans. It seemed no one from his congregation could make it through the treacherous weather. The silence in the vast, hollow sanctuary was deafening, a stark contrast to the joyful carols he had envisioned. With a heavy sigh, he walked to the grand wooden doors, the key cold in his hand. It was time to lock up and head home to his own family. He felt a pang of disappointment. What was a church without its people? What was Christmas Eve without a shared celebration of hope? As he turned the key, the metallic click echoed through the empty hall, sealing the solitude of the night. He pulled his coat tighter, ready to brave the storm, his heart feeling as cold and empty as the church he was leaving behind. Just as he was about to take his first step into the swirling snow, a faint, rhythmic sound cut through the howl of the wind. Thump. Someone was knocking on the church door. Pastor John hesitated. The service was canceled. The church was officially closed. His first instinct was to call out, to tell whoever it was to come back tomorrow, on Christmas Day, when the storm might have passed. His warm home and family were waiting. But then, a thought struck him, as clear and bright as the star of Bethlehem. He remembered the story of another cold night, long ago. He remembered Mary and Joseph searching for a place to rest, only to be told, there is no room. He remembered the humble stable where the Savior of the world was born, not in a palace, but among the lowly. How could he, a servant of that very Savior, turn someone away on this sacred night? How could he say no room when his church, though empty of its usual members, had more than enough space? The thought convicted him deeply. With a renewed sense of purpose, Pastor John whispered a short, earnest prayer. Lord, he said, his breath fogging in the frigid air, you made room for us. Help me make room for them. He turned the key back, unlocking the heavy door. He pulled it open, and a blast of icy wind swept inside, along with a figure huddled against the cold. It was a man, his clothes thin and worn, shivering uncontrollably. He looked like he had been wandering in the storm for hours, lost and without shelter. His eyes, full of desperation just a moment ago, now held a flicker of surprise and relief. Without a second thought, Pastor John stepped aside and welcomed him in. Come in, my friend, coming out of the storm, he said, his voice warm and kind. He led the man to the church kitchen, a small, cozy room behind the sanctuary. He quickly prepared a steaming mug of hot cocoa, its sweet, chocolatey aroma filling the air. As the man gratefully wrapped his frozen hands around the warm mug, Pastor John began to softly hum a Christmas carol. Then, he started to sing. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. The stranger looked up, a small smile touching his lips, and he quietly joined in. In that small kitchen, with the storm raging outside, Pastor John shared more than just cocoa and a song. He shared the story of Christmas, the message of the gospel, a story of love, hope, and a God who came for the lost and the lonely. Just as they finished their song, another knock echoed from the front door, louder this time. Pastor John, now filled with a sense of divine appointment, went to open it without hesitation. Standing on the steps was a young family, a mother, a father, and two small children, their car stuck in a snowdrift down the road. They had seen the single light shining from the church window and came seeking refuge. Pastor John's smile widened. Welcome, welcome. There's plenty of room, he exclaimed, ushering them into the warmth. He brought them to the sanctuary, where the first guest was now sitting in a pew, the warmth of the cocoa having brought color back to his cheeks. The family was soon followed by an elderly couple whose power had gone out, and then a group of college students whose holiday road trip had been halted by the blizzard. One by one, knock by knock, the church began to fill not with the familiar faces of the congregation, but with a collection of strangers, all brought together by the storm. Pastor John lit the candles, and their gentle glow illuminated the faces of his unexpected flock. The once empty church was now full, not just with people, but with a palpable sense of community and gratitude. The sound of their combined voices singing carols rose to the rafters, a joyful noise that pushed back against the storm's fury. It was a service after all, just not the one he had planned. It was something more spontaneous, more beautiful. It was a mosaic of humanity, gathered in a house of God, sharing a moment of unexpected grace. The air was thick with the scent of melting snow, hot cocoa, and something intangible, the spirit of Christmas. As the night wore on, the initial fear and uncertainty on the faces of the snowbound travelers were replaced by a profound sense of peace. In the warm glow of the candle light, surrounded by the sound of shared songs and quiet prayers, the worries of the world outside seemed to melt away. The storm that had isolated them had, paradoxically, brought them together in a way none could have anticipated. For the homeless man, the first to arrive, the night was truly transformative. He had been seeking shelter from the physical cold, but he found warmth for his soul. As Pastor John shared the message of God's unconditional love, of a Savior who welcomes all, the man's heart was deeply moved. Tears streamed down his face as he listened, not tears of sorrow, but of release and acceptance. In the quiet reverence of that impromptu service, he gave his life to Christ, finding a home not just for the night, but for eternity, for everyone gathered. It was a Christmas Eve they would never forget. They had entered the church as strangers, seeking refuge from a storm, but they found so much more. They found community, they found kindness, and in the stillness of that holy night, they found a deep and abiding peace that settled over them like the freshly fallen snow outside, pure, quiet, and complete. That night taught Pastor John and everyone present a powerful lesson. Christmas isn't just about planned services, familiar traditions, or even being surrounded by family and friends we already know. At its heart, Christmas is about opening the door. It's about recognizing Jesus in the faces of the outcast, the stranger, the one in need. He didn't come for those who had it all figured out. He came for those who were lost, cold, and searching for a place to belong. The true spirit of Christmas is found when we make room in our hearts and in our homes for others, just as God made room for us through His Son. This season, let's look for opportunities to open our own doors. It might not be a physical door during a snowstorm, but a door of kindness to a coworker, a door of forgiveness to a family member, or a door of generosity to someone less fortunate. When we do, we discover that the peace and hope of that first holy night are not just part of an ancient story. They are a living, breathing reality, ready to fill our lives and the lives of those around us. May you find and share that incredible peace this Christmas. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of hope.